Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Raener Lewington. Is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
Not really. I don't exactly have anything off the top of my head.
Okay. You are a writer, so we have a bunch of writer questions for you, and we'll jump right in. How did you come up with your pen name?
I came up with my pen name one day in high school talking to one of my friends who wanted to make a career out of songwriting. And I wanted to come up with a pen name so that I could keep my identity hidden online, as I kind of held a blog at the time. It quickly grew into writing a lot of different horror stories and creepypastas afterwards. But up until that point, I mainly just made up a name that I thought seemed interesting to me at the time, and it's become something all of its own.
What story do you wish you had been the one to write?
Oh, the story I honestly wish I could have written. It's not exactly a bit of a story, but more of a poem. I wish I was the one to have written Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I really wish I could have written that poem. It's just beautiful.
Who are your favorite writers?
Well, of course, Poe is up there. We have, as well as Stephen King. I haven't read much of Lovecraft's work, unfortunately. That's a bit of a shame, but I just really haven't. Other writers that kind of inspired me, Vincent Vinicava has also been a bit of an inspiration, as well as a few other miscellaneous authors who have written either creepypastas or stories through Reddit. I don't exactly align myself with any particular writer that inspires me, but I think the one that inspired me the most would have to be Edgar Allan Poe.
Where do you get your inspiration?
Oftentimes I just get my inspiration from the music I listen to, or the stories that I hear on the news, or from what I've been reading or watching here, even on YouTube. Sometimes I'll watch a video by, say, YouTuber Rob Dyke about someone who was killed in this brutal way, and I thought, wait, that could actually make for a really good story, and part of this actually happened. So it has a hint of realism to it. So I kind of take some of those influences and begin to mix them together and make a story all of its own.
How has writing changed you and your life?
Writing's changed more from becoming a hobby to something I can actually see myself doing as an author. I'm very close to actually having a book out here very soon, and I'm very excited about that. And it gives me hope that maybe instead of this being just a hobby, it could be something more than that, something that I love to do, yet it doesn't truly feel like work to me.
Why did you start writing?
Believe it or not, I have one of the dumbest reasons why I started writing horror stories or creepypastas. I always wrote stories when I was little. From 7 up, I just wrote anything that popped into my head. But writing horror and creepypastas took me a while, and took me convincing from my best friend. He said, why don't you do something special for your blog? Why don't you try to write some creepypastas, because you've been listening to YouTubers like the main one, Mr. Creepypasta, and you like those stories. Why don't you write some of your own? I'm like, no, I can't do it. Come on, you haven't given it a chance. I think you should try it. Okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll dive into it and try for it. The reason I said try was because up until about a year ago, I was still secretly like one of the biggest fraidy cats you had ever met. Like when I was little, you could scare me just by jumping out from behind a couch, and that would like scare me half to death. Now I'm hardly scared by anything, but up until that point, I was really, really nervous on writing horror. But after I started writing more and got back into it, I realized, hey, I can do this. This is pretty fun.
Which story are you most proud of writing?
That I go back and forth on so many times because I write so many stories all at once. I'm currently working on a story that has so many connections to other ones in this new book that I've been compiling together. It's called Volvox. It's not out and it won't be out until the book is released because I want that to remain a book exclusive. But a lot of the aftermath from this particular story and everything leading up to it has all fed up to this one story and this one moment in time, where it's essentially the worst case scenario of a nuclear apocalypse, except how it happens in one of the most unlikely ways.
What is the earliest story you remember writing?
The earliest story I remember writing was, I think it was a poem, if I remember correctly. It was a poem that I wrote to a crush that I had in middle school. It was embarrassing to think about it even up to now. But I wrote it, and I kind of hoped like maybe she would like something that was a bit artsy. I thought it was pretty cool. She liked it, but never found any interest in me. But I was like, you know what? I like this thing, whatever. It fills me with like a cringy feeling when I look at it or think about it, but like that I still got to acknowledge I was like the first one I still remember writing.
What story has made an impact on your life?
Hmm. The biggest story that has made an impact would probably um, that would probably have to be The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe. I always mess up the name, but I know what the story is. That one probably made the biggest impact in terms of how I write and why.
What story are you currently working on?
At the moment, I'm currently working on Volvox is the last story for the book collection that I just mentioned before. After which, though, I do want to embark on creating a full-length novel for one of the more popular stories within the collection called The Voices. That's going to be the next big project that I really want to work on. It was actually narrated out as part of a contest that was hosted by Mr. Creepypasta. I never expected it to win. I wrote it because I enjoyed the concept, and so many people enjoyed it, and they wished to see so much more out of it. And that's my next project that I really want to work on, making that a full novel and telling the entire story.
How does it feel to have so many narrators read your stories?
Ah, it feels rewarding to see someone read out my story and so many people listen to it and enjoy it. Like you could be a narrator who has maybe one or two subscribers, or you could be the biggest narrator on YouTube, Mr. Creepypasta, and I would still enjoy it just the same. It never gets old for me to see someone enjoy a story as much as I do, and then be able to read it out to people who enjoy it just as much. Even though there's some people who don't always like certain parts of it or don't like the story in its entirety, the amount of people who really like what I do as much as I do it just rounds out any of the negativity that some people try to bring against what I write, and that's just such a rewarding feeling to have.
Would you like to tell us about your book?
Yeah, the book is a collection of the best stories that I've written so far up until less than a year ago when I started writing these. It's just been a massive collection of a lot of the better stories that many people have enjoyed throughout the past several months that I've been compiling together for this. And I just came up with a name for it recently, and I'm hoping to take it to the independent horror publishers, Crystal Lake Publishing. That's the one I'm hoping to go for over here. The name is Dark Pages from Darker Ages. And that is the focus of the book, is being a large collection of miscellaneous horror stories from different angles, different types of horror, all composed into one book.
Where do you see yourself going with your writing career?
I honestly don't know very much as of right now, but where I honestly see myself going within the next several months is hopefully having this book out and then the next novel afterwards. But if both are great successes, then I'll continue on writing more novels and making more collections. It all depends on whether or not more people like it as much as I do.
Okay. And we are on the last question for you. What is a fun fact about yourself?
Oh, well, which one? Oh, I guess I'll go with this one since I'm staring right at the certificate in my room. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, the Korean martial art, or as they say in their Korean language, Taekwondo literally meaning the art of kicking and punching. Yeah, it was a fun 8 years earning that belt level. Definitely.
Is there anything you would like to say before we wrap this up?
Um, I was pretty nervous coming on here, to be honest, to be completely honest. Um, I just try to remain as composed as I can with anything professional. Thank you for having me on, definitely.
Oh,
Uh,
you did very well. So don't worry about being nervous. You didn't come off that way.
uh,
And thank you very much for joining me. To anybody who hasn't already, check the description down below. There's a few links for you to check out and go read some of his stories for yourself. And yeah, go show lots of love and support. And yeah. Okay, that is it for now. So bye everyone.